Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
And believe me, there's way more to this guy than you might think.
I bet.
I mean, we all have that image in our heads,
What?
right? The action hero,
Right.
the tough guy, all those crazy Chuck Norris facts.
Oh, yeah, those facts. They're practically a legend themselves.
Absolutely. And that's what I find so fascinating. We're going to try to figure out how a kid from Oklahoma, who was actually kind of shy,
Really?
transformed himself into this larger-than-life figure.
Wow.
We've got excerpts from his biography, some of his most powerful quotes.
Okay.
And yeah, we're even tackling those internet facts head on.
You know, it's funny. Those facts, even though they're obviously exaggerated,
Oh, yeah.
they kind of tap into this thing. We all have this fascination with pushing ourselves beyond our limit.
Exactly. And that's what we're really going to explore today, that unbreakable spirit. How did Chuck Norris develop it? And what can we learn from his journey? So let's start at the beginning, with his early life. His biography paints a pretty tough picture, bullying,
Oh, wow.
insecurity, a difficult relationship with his father.
His father was a Cherokee soldier and a World War II veteran,
Oh.
but he really struggled with alcoholism, which definitely made things difficult for young Chuck. But here's the thing. Facing these kinds of challenges,
Yeah.
they can actually create resilience.
Oh, so it's not something you're born with. It's something that develops because of tough times.
That's a great way to put it. And it's really important for understanding Chuck's story. His early life, it wasn't easy, that's for sure.
Right.
But you could say it was like a training ground where his strength was forged.
Wow, that's powerful. And then he decides to join the Air Force at only 16.
16, wow.
And he's stationed in Korea, and that's when things really change.
Okay, so instead of following the crowd with the, as his bio puts it, drinking and playing cards,
Right.
he finds martial arts. And this is about way more than just fighting. It's about taking control of your life.
Right.
Chuck used martial arts to overcome those insecurities that had been holding him back. Every punch, every kick, it was like he was building his confidence.
It's amazing. He even said, my psychological insecurities began to calm down. I became more communicative and assertive.
That's amazing. So like the discipline of martial arts gave him the tools to kind of rebuild himself from the inside out.
I love that. He wasn't just learning to fight, he was learning to master himself.
Exactly.
And that becomes like this defining characteristic throughout his whole life.
Definitely.
Which leads us to his incredible dedication to training. I mean, can you believe this? Black belts in 7 different disciplines?
Wow, 7.
The biography talks about him breaking bricks, constantly pushing his limits.
He wasn't just content with being good. He was driven to be the best, to push beyond what he thought was possible. And that drive, it wasn't limited to martial arts,
Oh, interesting.
It was like this energy that flowed into everything he did.
That's so cool. So even though he was achieving amazing things in martial arts, his journey to Hollywood, it wasn't exactly a straight line. I was actually surprised to learn that it was his student, Steve McQueen, who encouraged him to give acting a shot.
Really?
Yeah.
McQueen must have seen something special in Chuck. This charisma that went beyond the fighting ring. And that led to his breakthrough role in The Way of the Dragon, alongside Bruce Lee.
Now, that's a legendary duo. That film really launched his action career. But here's the thing. He didn't just, ride that wave of Hollywood fame.
No.
He used his influence to give back.
Right.
He founded martial arts organizations, created his own fighting style Chun Kuk Do, and then he established the Kick Drugs Out of America Foundation.
That's amazing.
He didn't want to just entertain. He wanted to inspire and make a real difference. And I think that says so much about his character.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He could easily just enjoy that Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah.
But he chose to use his platform for something good. It reminds me of that quote. He said, if you want to accomplish anything in life, you can't just sit back and hope it will happen. You've got to make it happen.
Powerful words.
And it seems like he really lived by that,
He did.
Which brings us to something that's almost as famous as Chuck Norris himself. The Chuck Norris facts.
Ah, yes, the internet's tribute to Chuck Norris's supposed superhuman abilities.
Exactly. But what's so interesting is that they're more than just jokes. They tell us something deeper about our culture,
Yeah, I think they reveal this fascination we have with the idea of pushing past what we think is possible. Those Chuck Norris facts are totally absurd.
Right.
But they tap into this desire for strength and resilience in a world that can feel really chaotic and unpredictable.
I see what you mean. They're almost like modern day myths embodying that unbreakable spirit we were talking about earlier.
Seriously, they're a fun way of expressing our admiration for someone who embodies those qualities. But here's the thing. Those qualities aren't just about physical strength. They're about mental toughness, perseverance, and using your influence to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. I'm ready to unpack all that. Let's see how this unbreakable spirit shows up in the later parts of his life and what we can learn from it. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So we talked about how that unbreakable spirit isn't all about physical strength.
Right.
It's about mental toughness too, and using what you have to do good.
Right.
And those ideas become even more important when we look closer at Chuck Norris's life.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious about that. Like, what are some examples of how he showed that, outside of martial arts, I mean?
Well, take his commitment to his family. He's been married for years and years, raised 5 children, and he's a super dedicated grandfather.
Wow.
That takes a different kind of strength and resilience, don't you think?
Yeah.
The kind you need to handle the everyday ups and downs of life.
That's a good point. We usually think of unbreakable spirit like doing these amazing feats.
Yeah.
But it's just as important for those everyday challenges we all face.
Exactly. It's about showing up for your loved ones day after day, and sticking to your values even when things get tough.
Right.
And Chuck Norris, he's always done that in his personal life and publicly too.
Speaking of public stuff, his work with that Kick Drugs Out of America Foundation is a perfect example of him using his fame to make a difference.
Definitely.
What impressed me is that he didn't just put his name on it. He really got involved with teaching young people about the dangers of drugs.
He didn't just talk about it.
Yeah.
He lived it. He used his own experiences to connect with those kids.
Right.
Shared his story about overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
Emphasized how important it is to make good choices.
It's almost like he was saying, hey, if I can overcome my struggles, you can too.
Right.
That's powerful, especially for young people going through their own stuff.
It all goes back to that idea that an unbreakable spirit is something you can develop. It's inside all of us.
Right.
It's not about being Chuck Norris. It's about finding that inner strength and using it to handle whatever you're facing.
But that's got to be hard sometimes, right? I mean, we all deal with setbacks, doubts, times when we feel like giving up. So how do we stay strong through all that?
Well, one thing that stands out about Chuck Norris is how he always keeps pushing himself to improve. He never stopped learning, always trying to grow. And that's a big part of building that unbreakable spirit, I think.
Okay.
It's recognizing that we're all a work in progress, that we can always get better.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about that journey of always trying to improve.
Exactly. And part of that journey is taking on challenges, learning from your mistakes, and never giving up on yourself. Remember that quote we talked about earlier?
Oh, which one?
There is no finish line.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's a marathon, not a sprint,
Mm-hmm.
There will be setbacks and doubts, but you got to keep going, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
And maybe that's where those Chuck Norris facts fit in.
How so?
Well, they remind us to not take ourselves too seriously, to find some humor when things are tough.
That's a great point. Sometimes a good laugh can really lift you up and help you keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about Chuck Norris's life, from a quiet kid to this martial arts legend, action hero, and even an internet sensation, thanks to those facts.
Right.
But the real question is, what can we, regular people, take away from all this? How do we actually build that unbreakable spirit in our own lives?
Right. Good question. Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? How do we do that?
Right. And luckily, it doesn't mean we got to become martial arts masters or movie stars.
Okay, good, because I don't think roundhouse kicks are in my future anytime soon. But seriously, what can we actually do?
It all starts with changing how we look at things. Instead of seeing challenges as these huge obstacles, what if we saw them as chances to grow? Remember how Chuck used all those difficulties he had as a kid to make him even more determined?
Yeah.
That's a powerful lesson.
So it's about seeing tough times as a way to get stronger.
Exactly.
I get that, but how do we actually do it? Easy to say, but when you're going through something rough, it's a whole other story.
Oh, for sure. It takes building up your mental resilience. Think of it like working out a muscle. Every time you face a challenge and don't give up, you're making that resilience stronger.
Right.
Could be something small, like sticking to your workouts, or something big, like dealing with a career change, or something bad happening in your life.
So it's about celebrating those small wins.
Yes.
Those times we push ourselves and realize we're tougher than we thought.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help either.
Oh, right.
Chuck, he had mentors, friends, people who supported him all along the way. Surround yourself with folks who believe in you, lift you up.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes we forget we don't have to do everything alone.
Nope.
But what about those times when you just want to give up?
It happens.
How do you find that unbreakable spirit when it feels like the whole world is against you?
Remember what Chuck said, there is no finish line.
Yeah, right.
This is a marathon, not a sprint. There are going to be setbacks, times you doubt yourself, but the important thing is to keep going, even if it's just one tiny step at a time.
And maybe that's where those Chuck Norris facts actually help.
Oh, yeah.
They remind us to not take everything so seriously, to find the funny side, even when things are rough.
You got it. A little humor can make a big difference. Helps you stay positive, keeps things in perspective.
So after looking at Chuck Norris's life, it seems like that unbreakable spirit, it's not about being superhuman or reaching some impossible goal.
Nope.
It's about taking on challenges, getting back up when you fall, and trying to be a little better each day.
And knowing that we all have that potential inside us.
Right.
It's just a matter of finding it and then choosing to live a life that shows it.
Yeah.
So what will you do with your unbreakable spirit?
That's a good question for all of us. And until next time, keep on diving deep.